Imagine a region in the world where peace seems elusive. Where would your mind wander? Africa, specifically the Horn of Africa, perhaps. This part of the world, home to Ethiopia, Somalia, and Somaliland, has been a theater of conflict for decades. The stage was set by a complex history of colonialism, territorial disputes, and power struggles. But recently, a new act has begun, one that has seen tensions rise to a fever pitch. Ethiopia's port agreement with Somaliland, a self-declared state internationally recognized as an autonomous region of Somalia, has stirred the pot, igniting a fresh wave of political unrest. The Horn of Africa has long been a hotbed for political unrest, and the recent events between Ethiopia and Somalia only add fuel to the fire. Now, let's dive deeper into the sequence of events that have led to the current situation. It all started with a seemingly innocuous port agreement between Ethiopia and Somaliland. This agreement, however, was met with strong disapproval from Somalia, who viewed it as a violation of its sovereignty. The international community was quick to react. Some nations saw the agreement as a positive step towards economic development in the region. Others, however, feared it could exacerbate existing tensions and lead to further instability. The situation was further complicated by the ongoing conflict in Sudan, which had already sent shockwaves throughout the Horn of Africa. The fear was that the disagreement over the port agreement could add fuel to an already volatile situation. Meanwhile, Ethiopia was dealing with its own internal challenges. Despite a recent election victory, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed found himself facing persistent conflicts within the country. His attempts to neutralize threats and regain the trust of ethnic groups were overshadowed by the brewing political storm with Somalia. The situation was not helped by the fact that the Horn of Africa region was already grappling with conflicts in Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Somalia, as well as the effects of climate change. In the midst of all this, there were also concerns about the potential impact on negotiations over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and the sharing of Nile waters. The dam, seen as a symbol of Ethiopian aspiration, had already been a source of tension between Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan. As you can see, this is not a simple disagreement, but a complex web of interests, alliances, and historical grievances. So, where does this leave us now? We're in a situation where the Horn of Africa, already grappling with its share of conflicts, faces yet another potential crisis. The root cause of this unrest is the contentious port agreement with Somaliland, which has brought Ethiopia and Somalia to a diplomatic standoff. The key players in this scenario are the governments of these two nations, their armed forces, and the international community. The implications of this unrest are far-reaching. For the region, it may exacerbate existing conflicts and potentially lead to a full-blown crisis. The damage to critical infrastructure and the risk of a refugee crisis are not to be taken lightly. For the international community, the situation presents a precarious diplomatic challenge. The balance between supporting a resolution to the conflict and not appearing to endorse an authoritarian regime or a militia is a delicate tightrope to walk. Moreover, the conflict could also impact negotiations over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and the sharing of Nile waters, adding another layer of complexity to the situation. It's clear that this is not an isolated issue, but one that could potentially influence the geopolitical landscape of the region. The future of the Horn of Africa hangs in the balance, and the world watches with bated breath.